Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now November 21st. Today is a very big day as we have a lot to talk about what recently happened with Disney CEO Bob Chapek and how a lot of things are changing over at Disney, including of course the board and what's going on with Bob Iger now and Chapek on his way out after getting fired. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things brewing, a lot of fans asking questions about what does this mean for Marvel, what does this mean for Star Wars. We're going to go over all of it right now. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, as we have been discussing for a couple of months now, we've talked about this previously here, about how Bob Chapek has been looking to get out and quit from Disney before contract ends, and to prematurely quit by 2024. He was very desperate to leave as fast as possible. He was having a lot of stress, a lot of, difficult times, working of course over at Disney as the CEO, especially with the Disney parks. And this led to a lot of the board members getting worried about Bob Chapek being a little bit misguided through having such a difficult time. And a lot of people always said that Chapek was more or less the fall guy for Bob Iger and what he did, of course, with Disney prior. Now, the thing about what recently happened is that Bob Chapek has been officially fired, and this was all a decision made up by the board of Disney. Alright, so for those of you that don't know, the CEO doesn't really have all that much power as you believe. At the end of the day, the board really contributes to what really happens, with Disney overall. And with Chapek gone and now Iger coming back in, there's a main reason behind that. Is because they had no candidates to take over Chapek just yet. And as we discussed a couple of months ago, they were looking for a replacement for a very long time, but they couldn't find one. Now, with Disney CEO Bob Chapek now officially on his way out the door over at Disney, getting fired and let go from the board, and the previous Disney CEO Iger now back, due to the lack of candidates to take over Chapek at last minute, Chapek recently was able to share a couple of words with the entire world about his departure and firing. Bob Chapek went on to say the following: "I have had the greatest opportunity to be a part in running this company since 2020 through tough times for everyone. It was a tough situation that we had at Disney where, of course, we were put in for almost 3 years at this point, and it was in my best interest to find ways to guide this company through extreme measures and difficult times. I am here announcing my departure from Disney today, and though, however, not by choice, it was in the board's best interest for Mr. Iger to return to once again guide this company through even tougher times." So once again, this was a choice not by Chapek, this was a choice by the board because they could not find anybody else to replace Chapek at last minute, and so they got Iger right back in. Now, I've always said this many times before, that I always felt that Chapek was more or less a shoo-in or a replacement for Bob Iger, temporarily speaking. That's how I always felt in the beginning. But then it became more and more permanent looking, right? At first, you thought it was only going to be a thing for 2020, then 21 came along, then 22 came along, and that's when Chapek decided to extend his contract, but at the same exact time, he didn't want to do that, he wanted to quit. So, you can see what's happening here, is that the stress basically got to Chapek. He had a very difficult time with what's been going on with the Disney parks, with what's been going on with, of course, the stocks over at Disney. Well, we won't get into all of that, it's just a long conversation, but this is a shocking development, and it's something that I think a lot of people did not expect to happen overnight. It is something that Chapek, I think at the end of the day, really has no, big issue about, because he wanted to leave anyway before 2024, or even by 2024 at that point. So on top of this too, he goes on to say, "I want to inform everyone." Of course, he goes on to actually continue and say, of course, on top of this, "I want to inform everyone that has invested their time with Marvel and Star Wars that my plans for both franchises will continue through Mr. Iger once he officially comes in, and that the majority of my works will remain for the foreseeable future." New Disney CEO Bob Iger then came in to state the following: We respect Mr. Chapek's time here at Disney. However, times are getting tougher and the board felt it was in their best interest for someone with a wider history to take care of this company for harder times ahead. But we see these hard times easing sometime around 2024. We are set to make some great improvements to multiple franchises like Star Wars and Marvel, and our Disney parks, and how we can improve all of that for theme park goers. John and Dave's work for Star Wars and their privileges will remain, as will Kevin Feige's from Marvel, and I have no intention of changing anything for the worst of both franchises. So once again, Iger confirming that he has no intention to change any of John and Dave's vision of Star Wars, which is great. You know, that's honestly a breath of fresh air. It's almost like, you know, you were worried for a second and then now that worry is gone. So Iger is saying that he's going to let John and Dave do what they want to do still with Star Wars, and that's not going to be tampered with. The thing here that really complicates things is how this just happened overnight and how it's really creating a lot of trust issues with fans of Disney or just Marvel and Star Wars in general. It really is, to a degree, because now fans are like, well, what's going to happen now that Bob Iger's back? Well, Bob Iger here stating that he has no intention of reverting anything. So that's at least good news. He has no intention of reverting what Bob Chapek was doing with Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for Marvel and Star Wars. However, what Bob Iger can do is that he can do better if he wants to. And that's all up to him. Do I think it'll happen? It's a 50-50 chance if he wants to do better than Chapek was even doing, but we will have to wait and see. You know, I think that Chapek, at the end of the day, he was a 50-50 guy too. He wasn't doing great with the Disney parks, wasn't doing all that great at all, if you want my 2 cents on that. But when it came to Star Wars and when it came to the privileges that he gave John and Dave, as well as allowing George back on, was fantastic. And Iger, by the way, is not going to stop that. He's not going to revert anything. I just want to put that out there, make it known for you guys that there's nothing to worry about Iger coming back and messing with that whole, you know, plan with John and Dave, essentially bringing Star Wars back to its roots and bringing it back to basics. So here we are. I mean, it's November 21st. It is the end of the year, basically, and it's just a shocker that this happened so fast. Again, like I said, we've mentioned this before in the past, you know, couple of months that Chapek has been wanting to get out anyway. He's been wanting to quit by 2024. I think that to him, this is a blessing in disguise. To him. And I think it's why his response was kind of like, you know, respectful to a degree. He didn't really show any kind of hatred toward Iger or different opinions right off the bat. He just said what he had to say and he's gone. That's it. Poof. Gone in the wind. He's just not even there anymore. So the board has made up their mind. They got Iger back because they couldn't get anybody else in there. And Iger has history with Disney, so they figured, why not? So overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, I'm not the one from night to moon.